All right, we are back on the Southern Ontario Dirt Show podcast, hanging out with Dan Kviring. Dan, you're a Mod Lite driver, but you're also very heavily involved in the Mod Lite program, and I'm really happy to have you joining the show. Appreciate all the support last year, too. You're always like the first guy to come up to me at Merrittville in the pits and be like, where's the podcast or what's going on with it, all that sort of stuff. So we appreciate it.
No problem. Love the show.
Awesome. Well, Beef's our new co-host this year, and we're gonna talk a lot about the local stuff. And when it comes to the Mod Lights, they're rapidly becoming maybe one of the more interesting classes to watch in terms of the actual on-track product, but even some of the storylines coming off of it. Let's start from the very beginning, though, Dan. Where did your involvement with racing begin?
Geez. I think I was born into it, actually. My father used to race drag cars. I've got an old portfolio where I can see a whole bunch of drag times. And then all of a sudden it switches and my mom jumped in the car and she ran better times than him. And I could see along the I could see along the way where they kept improving the car. I remember far back traveling all over, Ontario, Northeast states, and even a family trip one time out to Minnesota to get snowmobile parts because my dad dragged sled, like race drag sleds. My uncle ran circle sleds. And then my dad had involvement with, I don't know if it'd be considered modifieds back in the day or the sportsman. It was the old V6s with Larry Zenigi as the driver. Glenn Miller was engine guy. I think Gary Gaverluck was involved. So we've always had the race cars around the house. And I can remember as far back as my mom always telling my dad, you will not let him near one of those things. I think I was probably maybe 8, and I had a field car, an old 77 Pinto. I was bombing around the bush out there, beating it off the trees, sliding it like I'd see at the track. All the times running under the stands, and a lot of people that I start talking to that are in that same kind of era, underneath the stands at Humberstone, dodging the spilling beer, the cigarette butts. It was great times, and it just stuck with it. So I guess moving forward, I was in school and I knew a bunch of friends at Port High that race, like Greg Panunte, I've known my whole life. Mm-hmm. I knew Sean Slider back in the day as well. And then as I was getting older, I used to have friends that lived by Sean. So we'd end up over at Sean Slider's house. And I always looked at his race cars. I'm like, I love those little things. Yeah. So fast forward, I guess about 2006, I was working in Oakville, and the guys there said, hey, we're going to go up to Cameron Motorsports and do some of the go-kart racing. I'm like, okay, Let's go check it out. So I was anxious as all get out. I showed up about an hour early, and they were running a couple shifter carts. And I remember looking at them going, I think I'm out of my element here. They were flying. So a guy came up. He says, hey, are you here for go-kart racing? I said, yeah. I said, but I'm not too sure about that. He goes, oh, don't you worry. You're not in those cars. These other ones over here. So I'm like, perfect. So I got on the track, and I was hooked. I knew right away. I loved it. We raced for a couple seasons, and then I took a year off, and then some things changed in the family. My dad passed away, and I said to my wife, I says, I want to get in racing. So we went. I dragged her to Merrittville, and I'll never forget it. It was like the Rose Weber race at the time. And I have video of it in 2008, I believe. And I still remember Rod Jones shifting a Mod Lite all the way around that track. And I said to my wife, that's what I want to do. And she goes, oh, sound like my mother. She's like, no way. Not a good idea. I said, let's go in the pits and look at them. I just want to touch them, right? Yeah. So we go over to the pits, and I ran into, his name slips me now, but we called him Bear. He was part of Wally's group there, some of the original founders. Okay. And Bear saw it in my eyes right away. He's like, you should sit in the car. And I'm like, yeah, that's a great idea. My wife's like, no way, not happening. I hop in the car. He goes, this is how you turn it on. He fired it up, I looked at her and my wife just went, "Oh God." And
Yeah.
I think it was about a month later, there we are heading down to Missouri to go buy my first Mod Lite. Of course, I had talked to Sean Slider at the time because him and Jamie were at the top of their game there, winning championships. And they told me, like, go search out this brand. We can help you with it, get you started. And that's what I did. I went and got it. But it's funny, I leaned more the other way because I ran into Ray and Josh and met them, and became fast friends with them. And then it's just been kind of a blast doing it. But I got out in 2013. I sold everything. So I changed jobs and I started my own business. And I thought I can't commit to both.
Yeah.
Right. So I sold everything off. At the time, we had a great club going. We had lots of cars. And going back to those first couple races, like I remember showing up. I think my first 3-4 races, I didn't qualify because we had that many cars. Put her on the trailer, and I think my wife's saying, "You're gonna kind of have to pick yourself up here and get going." Like you're showing up, and you get a couple of laps, and you're out. And I said, "Well, it'll come. I'll learn it."
Yeah.
So yeah, we got going that way, and then, like I said, I got out in 2013, and I started the business with a bunch of friends, and we built it up. And then about 2018. I was in talking to Josh and I said, "Hey, I'm going to come out to the races, check them out and see what's happening." And I got back there and there was like 12 cars. And I remember going to the pit saying, "Josh, what the heck happened, man?"
Yeah.
He goes, "People just started dropping off. We had a sanctioning body with the stars and, things just kind of changed." And I'm like, I want to get back involved. And I just, like, we got to kind of build this back up.
Yeah.
So the next year, I think it was 2019, I drove on and off for Josh on one of his cars just to kind of keep my feet wet, get back into it. And then, of course, COVID hits because I was planning to go to the States to buy a car, wanted to go back and buy from our original builder, but he had sold it. So I was in contact with them back and forth. COVID hits and they just went dark, gone. Like they're still there, but they weren't open for discussion. Nobody was moving anything across the border. So I remember saying to Josh, like, "What are we going to do?" And he says, "Well, we'll look around, see if anybody's got one." And it really wasn't there. And we started brainstorming and somehow we came up with this great idea. We're going to start building our own race cars. And then, all of a sudden Rob's involved and Ray's involved. I mean, we got to get Ray involved too. Right. And now RJ's involved as well. And we said, okay, we're going to build a race car. And I don't know, you just don't build one, you build a couple. So me and Josh got 2 cars built. And then, we started building a couple more cars. And, we have, I think we're on version 3 now because we really tried out something really good there with Brent's latest car. We've codenamed that one MJ, and he did awesome with that car. I mean, he's a rocket ship anyway. And then we made a few changes, like they're working on their end of some of those little tricks and stuff, and we put that into Josh's new car he had, I guess, last year, the year before, and that's when he went out and broke the record at Humberstone. I think he ran like a 16.662. And I remember that night saying to him when he came off, I was joking with him because, I want to keep everybody happy and smiling. I'm like, the tower called and he's like, "Oh yeah?" I said, "Yeah, you start 3rd in the sportsman feature." He goes, "Are you kidding me?" I'm like, "You are going way too fast. Like, I can't believe you did a 16.6.
Yeah.
And it was, so that's the new record at Humberstone. And since then, this year we built Rob a new car because he sold his to Evan Leonard. And Sean Iftati retired that orange 27, which is a real low numbered car from Crutchfield Leader cars. And that's got a story that's coming up. We'll talk a little bit later about that one. And so we built Sean Iftati a brand new car. We took that to Florida this year. He did some handy work on the body, which we had to fix while we were there. And then we just put a new body on it. And mine's sitting on the jig, my new car coming.
Nice.
So I think we're 8, like mine's going to be frame 8. And we got the off one, which is MJ and Josh. We jumped Josh's ahead because he wanted frame 17 for car 17.
Yeah.
So So that put us, 8-10 cars, give or take.
Nice.
So yeah, that's where we're at. And I don't know. I just, we could put together a bit of a business plan, like to build it up, right?
Yeah.
12 cars. We were on the cusp of the track not being happy. The fans, it's a show we're putting on, and we always have to remember that we're there to race, and our racing deal is amongst each other. But when the big part of it is, we're putting on a show.
Yeah.
The fans paid money to come see it, and they don't want to see a smash-up derby, unless they're paying for it. We don't want to wreck the cars. We just want to race good, clean, and hard. And we just basically start building it by saying, anybody has a problem in our club, or, well, it's not a club, but in our region, we can help fix it. Or, hey, something's wrong with your car. Can we help you? Because I would rather race side by side somebody or give them the parts to beat me, which is not that hard. But do you know what I mean? Like to have that grow. And we had a couple guys, excuse me, I think 2 years ago, Leroy Bushcombe had an issue with his car, like the last race. I wasn't racing for points. I didn't have a perfect attendance, but he had perfect attendance. He was racing points. So, I literally walked over to him. You need a car for next week. Yours is not going to be ready. You're driving my car. I put Cole Hardy in it. I've had Rob in it. So by doing that and saying, hey, we're a group, you need something, we're here. Like, I think that's really helped. They're affordable. They're fun. They're quick. They're super easy to work on.
Yeah.
I can turn around. So I come back from a race Saturday night. Sunday morning, I take it over to the car wash and I bring it home and put it up on the stands, let it sit. And then Wednesday night, I do everything on the car I have to. And I'm 2 hours max for a turnaround. We only get the engines checked over every 3 years. So I run a spec motor. So after 3 years, they start getting tired. So I'll ship it down to my engine builder, and they go through it and fix it all up so that way it meets the rules we're running, and then put it back in. And still, likewise, a set of tires. I get the tires I just took off. I ran them for 2 seasons. Don't get me wrong, parts are parts, and you want to go faster, you start strapping more and more parts on and it gets costly. But other than that, I think they're a great division that we've put a ton of work in. And it's it's Josh, it's Ray, it's Rob. Like, Rob gets calls from everybody. And I'm talking about my guys because I deal with them. We chat all the time. I know what's happening. But there's other guys. Dave Cornish, last year, Corbett was, calling him. That's his buddy. Now Corbett sold his car, and Robbie General is going to be running it this year. Actually, he ran it at Humberstone last year, but it's his daughter running it this year.
Okay.
And I just met with him yesterday. He needs a new bumper, so I went and met him, and we're going to build him a new couple sets of bumpers for him for this weekend. Nice. So we're putting back in there. We're not racing for NASCAR money. We're not. We make a few bucks here and there. We have a blast, but because of the rules, we got anywhere we can go.
Yeah.
I can go into Quebec, upstate New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Kentucky, South Carolina, Florida, Georgia, Texas, California, Arkansas. Like, there's races. We're all generally under the same body, which is great, right?
Yeah.
So, and I think it's a good. I originally used to say it was a good stepping stone. I'm going to talk your guys' ears off by
that's all right. It's all good.
You guys, and you're just like, oh boy.
No, this is great.
Yeah, we just got back from Florida.
Yeah.
So, we did a Florida trip a couple years ago, and I've been itching to go back down. And I'll get into this quickly. So, I kind of put the little bug in everybody's ear, around Christmas, and things changed. Josh got a new baby. Yeah. People just got married. They got commitments. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm going down anyway, so I'm gonna take my car.
Yeah.
So then Sean Iftadi's like, well, I want to go. in the background, I've got Cole Hardy going, I want to be going with you guys.
Mhm.
Maybe me and Leroy or somebody. And I'm like, we know what's going on. You come with us. So it's our winter nationals, right?
Yeah.
So, we started off at Ocala, and we were there with the, I want to call them the all-star late models, like Davenports. It's not termed as the World of Outlaws because it's on flow.
Lucas Oil.
That's it. Sorry.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
And we brought 60 cars there. We're a support class. We had 60 cars.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah. Like it was a good show. And I'll tell you, you want to step your game up. That's you go race with those guys. Like,
Yeah.
I unfortunately didn't have a lot of good luck. I put what I wanted to do. I didn't achieve it, but I think I learned a lot.
Mhm.
The couple wrecks I've had lately really put a little scare into me, a little damper on, throwing the car in there and being able to do it. But I started to get it back at last season, and I've got one heat win in the last while, so I'll take that. So hopefully I can build on that this year.
Yeah.
But we raced there, and then I think maybe a couple cars got damaged really bad at Ocala, but then I think we had 55 at Hendry. So we had 6 solid days of racing.
Mhm.
And I think the tools that you learn from racing with, a lot different people, and it's not maybe the comfort zone of like, if I don't perform as good in the heat, maybe I can make it up in the feature. There, it's you make it through the heat, and if you don't make it the heat, you go to the B main. The B mains are a lot larger,
Mhm.
and you're just fighting all the way through. And I like I said, I didn't have no luck. Sean did. I think he made 3 of the 4 finals, which was great. And he showed great maturity in how he drives and learning. And
Mhm.
Ray and Ray Slider did come with us, and Dylan Slider came, and them wrenching on the car and just trying to guide them, say, hey, okay, try this.
Yeah.
We were on the phone with the team back home, and getting instructions, and okay, try this, try that. So it helps. And I already know, like, next year, there's a couple guys from our group that are saying we're going.
Mhm.
Right, a couple guys that have never been. So
Yeah.
That's what I want to hear.
Yeah.
let me get a breath here.
Yeah. Yeah, you go ahead, Beef.
So one of the things, Model Lights are a very unique style of dirt car. I mean, they do run all up and down the East Coast, West Coast, but I mean, to the average race fan, they don't really see Model Lights a lot. What can you say driving a Model Light? What does it feel like, and what would be something that an average fan wouldn't even think about that you're doing inside a Mod Light, that they would be just like, I can't believe you're doing that?
Okay, so what it's like actually driving it. I'm impressed by the actual power when they take off.
Okay.
I've tried to put it in perspective to even launching some asphalt cars. We've done a few driving experiences. I got a couple friends that have a few high end cars, and the launch experience is the same. However, you don't want to hit that over that speed limit, or else you get a ticket. We're all on the track. You're low to the ground. I mean, our pan is like 4 inches off the ground. We lower our seat, keep that center of gravity a little bit lower. And, I just, like, for myself, I'm looking in the car. I got my hands on the wheel. I'm looking ahead. I can see my open wheels on the front and right. I got the cars beside me. And you're kind of, dual eye watching the group ahead of you. And you're watching the flag man, and you're listening in the headset. And when they say go, the green flag's out, just the wind up of that car, I shift. So I start in second gear and I step on it, and that engine revs right up to, I have my limiter on it is set for 12.5. And I mean, it goes from, maybe 3, 4, 5,000 RPM to 12.5, no problem. At the flag stand, I shift, and I mean, it just keeps pulling till I get to the corner. Get it into the corner, you get off the gas, set the car up, and I use too much brake, but I'm hoping to shorten my left leg this year. But get it in that corner, and I always say to Rob, after we've done a really good setup in the car, I'm like, I get that car in the corner, and it just feels like it's rolling in. and I feel it set, and I kind of feel the right rear kind of lock down, and I'm just like, gotcha. And I just mash it back again. The front left comes off the ground, and you just fly out the back. You know, you get 3/4 of the way down the back stretch. You might hit the rev limiter depending on your gearing, but it also feels like the car starts to lift a little bit. It's just such a weird experience, and it's so quick. Having never ran any other dirt cars, I don't know how to compare it to them, but small, short wheelbase, low to the ground, and just stepping on it, the response is right there. You know, it's hard to explain because, you know, even just now talking about it, I got goosebumps because it's just it's so much fun. You know, and you know you can race with these guys. I think, you know, last couple of years, you know, for my experience, I think I raced 2-3 laps side by side with Rob, and I mean, I felt like what I watched as a kid, the big boys racing, right? The Pete McNells and all those gang and the modified side by side, throwing it in the corner. We're just tiny. You know, we're 5'8", but you know, it's just it's exhilarating. And I mean, in all honesty, something bad happens, right? Let's say we have an accident like I did. You know, the first one was my first real one. You know, I left, and my wife was there with me, and she took me home. But my teammates just said, "Give me the keys." They loaded everything up. They took it to Josh's shop where we build the cars. And I think the next morning at 10 a.m., because we were supposed to race Humberstone, I got a text, "Car's ready." Like, it wasn't that much damage to it, sheet metal.
Yeah.
You know, I think we bent a couple of bars. You know, there's not a whole lot that really damaged it. Now, I mean, there's some real doozies that have happened that you can have some pretty bad damage, but for the most part, and then the one last year where me and Jamie Gilbert got together, again, I honestly think it was just sheet metal. It looked pretty good because I did a little bit of a roll, and then him and I did some pirouettes in the air, and we landed upside down. I kind of got out, and I remember Don comes running over. He's like, "You okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm pretty good." I looked at the car, and I'm like, "Yeah, nothing wrong with it. Like, it wasn't that bad." Excuse me.
Yeah. But yeah, they're small, right? They think, you would think, like, sometimes when you see them get up in the air, first of all, they're prone to getting up in the air just because they don't have the same weight of like a modified. And even with that, we've seen 358 modifieds get off the ground and go for a pirouette and whatever. So obviously a Mod Lite's going to be able to do the same thing. But it is a car that definitely is easy to see some rollovers from sometimes, see some wild rides, but ultimately everybody involved is building some strong race cars. I want to kind of give like race fans a Mod Lite 101, a true definition of what a modified light is, because I think when I started at Merrittville as an announcer, they were kind of the weird car to me that I didn't really understand. I was like, wait, so they're like a modified, but they're smaller. They're powered by bike engines. Like, what? So a couple things off the hop for anybody who's listening that's never really understood what a Mod Lite is. Dan, what is a Mod Lite? How are they powered, and how much power do they make? And you've mentioned that you can see them all over the place, up and down the East Coast. But like, where did Mod Lites really popularize themselves?
Okay, so I believe it started as the dwarf cars.
Mm-hmm.
So they were kind of like the 30s, the 20s and 30s body style. I'm trying to think back when I was a kid, because I remember they used to have the minis at Merrittville. I think they were actually like UK minis or something. And then I have a blank of memory there. Might have been some college days. I can't really remember, right?
Yeah.
So what happened? So they came out as dwarf cars, and they had like coupe styles. They had truck styles. And back in the day, they ran like 90s motors. So they would have been like carbed oilies, right? Maybe the old carbureted engines. And then, they ran everywhere. And you see their asphalt brother, which is the Legends car. But the dwarf cars ran on the dirt. Then I think they started getting popularized where they started changing the body style. And they said, well, let's see if we can put a modified body on it, change it up, change the look. And I think one of the first ones that came to Canada again was Bear that brought it up, and then they started taking off because the first car I had, which there's kind of a body up there, you can see
Yeah.
Oh,
the
yeah.
that was the first car I had. Well, that was actually what they called a brat. So it was Mod Lite, but it could also take the panels off it, do a few quick changes, and it turned into a dwarf car. So it
Okay.
was just mostly panels, and it was the way it's built. I think the Mod Lights had better air catching, more aero stuff on it,
Mm-hmm.
and they just started outperforming. And then also they start going to fuel injection engines. From there, everybody mostly have been building the Northeast modified body style. When we start racing with the guys like from Iowa, they'll run like the modified, as in like the Kenny Wallace's modified body style,
Yeah.
right? And under the sanctioning body, which is IMCA, so it's big on I call them the Western modified bodies. They've gone. There's a lot of those cars, and now I'm starting to see where they actually start to intermingle. So we've got Sean and Rob's car. They're going to be the Northeast modified body style, but the bumpers are going to be on the inside of the outer skin, like the side bumpers. I like it. I think it was really cool the way these last two we just built. But I just hate to get a nice donut on there and tear up all the stickers. And then, we're back on the phone with the sticker guys getting another set made. When it comes to, I'm trying to think of your question so I can lead into it. Where are they? Like that's where they came from. We can see the evolutions. And again, when you say right now, they're based on a 5/8 scale of a modified, right? So that's why we call them modified light. There's also, they tried to build the same kind of mod light, but they were doing it a late model. And I don't think it really took off. They're very scarce. But now there's another mini mod, they're calling them, maybe down in the south. And they're kind of like a Mod Lite, but they run a smaller engine, maybe smaller tires. But the true Mod Lite that we're seeing here, 5/8 scale. We run a 1,000 motorcycle engine, pretty much anything that's fuel injected. So early 2000s. I think the sanctioning body that we follow the rules on is at least 1 year old. So, a 24, maybe this year they're allowed maybe a 23.
Yeah.
But you're getting into trying to find a bike engine out of a wrecked bike, out of a brand new wrecked bike. So you have cost considerations to figure out, right? For the race car itself, fully functioning, full containment seat, safety gear. There's nothing spared there. Hans device, full race suit, gloves, helmet, and then coming to the race car, you have fully adjustable front ends. We're running quick change rear ends. The shock programs on these now are getting to be really good. And in the old days, we had one choice. It was Bilstein, and it was just numbered shocks. And you'd start playing around with the shocks, trying to figure stuff out because you're not allowed to rebuild them. Now they can be rebuilt, but they can't have like Schrader valves on them.
Oh, okay.
So these guys can get some stuff done. It's very tight in the rules, and we have a shock claim. If you think somebody's messing around and going too far with it, you just show up and you lay your shock claim money down, right? And I think you have to be in the top 5 to claim somebody. So it keeps everybody really honest about what they're doing, right? So
Yeah.
But other than that, like it's Hoosier tires, because that's what we run. 13-inch. Right rear is a 235 larger tire. I'm just trying to think. Beadlock on the right side. Trying to look back on it just quickly. That's odd. I mean, they look kind of funny because the way the motorcycle engine goes in. If you think a motorcycle engine on a motorcycle, the pipes come out the front and down. We turn the engine sideways. We take the sprocket off. We machine the cowling around it, and we put on an adapter so that we can run a drive shaft. So they are motorcycle engine with the transmission still attached in it, running to a drive shaft to a quick change rear end. So knowing your engine, the gear ratios inside the engine because of the year, and then running it back to a quick change and trying to dial that in. We're quickly stepping back to the dwarfs. They used to only run like Toyota rear ends. Yeah, so the Toyota, the old dwarfs ran Toyota rear ends, and they were like, 373, 350 something, and they were a pain to change. If you guys have ever changed one of those rear ends, you're taking it all apart. You got to drop the drive shaft off it, you drop that pumpkin out, you're messing around with it, you put it back together. These quick change, jack the back end up. There's 8 bolts around it. You pop the cap off, you catch the oil, you take your gears out, put the new set back in, put the cap back on, tighten it up, pour the oil back in, you're ready to go.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, obviously, you mentioned earlier about Savage Chassis. Talk a little bit about the undertaking of you guys deciding to make your own chassis and what the growth has been like, and is there any interest from maybe people outside Canada on running your chassis in the States?
So, we the undertaking of it was quite like for myself, it was fun how we did it, right? So I guess we started off because we always ran what was called leader race cars. That was Ed Crutchfield out of Georgia, his brand. When we got to kicking this idea around, we made a call to Ed and said, hey, look, we can't get from the people you sold the business to, we can't get race cars from them because they're not shipping them across, the border, COVID, the whole 9 yards. We want to build one based off your design, and we want to make some modifications to it. And Ed's like, yep, go ahead. Ed Crutchfield has always sponsored the sliders. He's, the history behind him with the championships and the strong support both ways. And that's how we've always been with the leader brand. So when we started doing it, my background is robotics engineering and mechanical engineering. And, Josh is a millwright, Ray's a millwright, RJ's a certified welder, Rob's a quality guy, right? Like quality technician or engineer. So when you put all these things together and we're like, okay, we have to look at the design and measure everything out. And then what do we want to change that's going to give us different pickup points or where we're going to mount the shocks or how everything's going to, is the race car going to be underslung or overslung, like all these little things. And we kicked around a bunch of ideas and, I think I was gone maybe on vacation for a couple of weeks. I came back, Josh, like we got a design and that's what we're going to build. Okay, perfect. So on my end of it, I'm not much into the, that original design of how they did that. And even going forward, I don't him and the guys talk a lot about that when they're saying we're going to make these changes, but like seeing how it's done. And of course, now you enter into any type of manufacturing, the quality guys. So the quality guys are like, okay, I need a cut list. I need sheets. I need an ITP. I've got to have all these things. And then you have the actual millwrights and the doers are just like, just give me the part. I'm going to cut it and we're going to make it fit so we can get this done. So the evolution was that at the beginning. Now we know exactly what we're cutting. We know all the bends that we're putting in there, the tweaks, the whole 9 yards. And when we did the last 3 cars, so Sean of Toddy's, I keep wanting to call him his nickname, right? Like
Cheeseburger.
I see you beef there, but
you can call him Cheeseburger.
You can call him Cheeseburger.
We all know.
That's what I call him.
It's Cheeseburger. We do call him Sheep.
Oh, yeah.
So
okay.
Yeah, so if I say Sheep by accident, it's Sean. So Cheeseburger. When we cut Rob's and Cheeseburgers, they cut my car the same, right? Like all the parts. So just start hollering out what we need. So I'm on the ground. I've got the cut saw, and I'm like, okay, I need 6 parts at 29 inches, right? And then that goes over to whoever's doing the notching, or if it's going to the bending, and we know exactly. So then we basically laid them in piles on where we had them, and it's now at the point it's just like plug and play, right? Pick up the part we know. I'm trying to help standardize it. So if we say, look, we've bent a front clip, we have to re-change the front clip. I can pull up a piece of paper, which I'm going to get us there, and say, I need these 12 parts off the shelf, or 15 or 25 parts, and we can build the front clip. So that's that. Going to customer base. So we've sold one to Dave Cornish bought one from us. In the meantime, I think Ray, Josh owns them. Rob owns his. I own mine, and the next one we're building. And then Rob sold his first one. We went to Florida in 2021, I believe. 2021, 2022. We raced at Hendry and brought a bunch of cars down. And then we went over to East Bay and we raced there. And I didn't drive at East Bay. I actually put Randy Giroux in the car because I wanted our cars to be at the front. Right, so now I took a step back and I'm looking at the business end of the deal. And I said, okay, I don't want to be at the back because we're trying to show off these cars. So if I have 4 or 5 great drivers and they're all at the front and you take advantage of that, people are going to say, hey, I want to know about those cars. So the Thursday night, I trying to think how it went. We won one of the nights.
Yeah.
And you know, I said to Randy, like, you got to thank Josh and the family. Thank me and my wife for putting you in the car.
Yeah.
Thank the engine builder. I said, and then your fourth one, because he was actually down with Uno.
Yeah.
He was driving the car over at not New Smyrna, wherever they were racing, right, with the modified program. And he did it all right. Did it perfect, just like that in the interview. And I was ecstatic because, you know, it was on Done Right TV, but our chassis with the logos was in the winner's circle on TV. So that's the thing we need to do. With going down to Florida now, like we see a couple of guys, they have interest. You know, sometimes it's hard to explain to them that what you're going to pay for a race car here in the States and versus what you're going to pay for in Canada, your money is 50% better.
Yeah.
So right off the bat, you know, hypothetically, you pick one of these cars for price X. Our price is the same as X, but now it's Canadian.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so how we have it priced, you know, or it's a little bit more when you look at them together, but one's in Canadian. So you got to get it through their head there. But the other way is we have to go down, we have to perform. Right? Nobody wants to buy a car if I'm the only guy out there and I'm not even making the show.
Yeah.
Right? So the business aspect of it. We've had some interest from the Quebec side there. You know, if the Quebec guys are listening, we're coming and we're going to whoop your ass. All there is to it. So the guy didn't buy a car. He bought one from some guys we know, an Edge race car. I just saw it posted. And I'm like, you paid that much money for that car in American, so it's 50% higher, and you're taking it now. So you're getting tariffed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? I said to Josh last night, we're taking 7 cars down there at a race. And I said, those 7 cars better be the top 7 cars.
Yeah.
Just say you made a mistake. Because you buy a car, you just don't say, here's the car, get lost. I mean, in all honesty, why not take what we're seeing somebody else is doing, which is a major manufacturer of race cars in our area.
Yeah.
Yep.
You have manufacturer support. Dave Cornish calls us up. I'm having a problem with this. Okay, you have our setup book. And we're trying all different things, and we kind of keep it all. We try different shocks. We try all these different packages. So you have that manufacturer support. Okay, what's wrong? What are you doing? And then also with Rob not racing last season because he sold his car, he's watching us and he's coming off the track. He's like, okay, you're doing this, this, and this. Trust the car. For me, that's what he was saying. Trust the car. Throw it in the corner. If it starts going squirrely, he says, we have so much side bite and so much forward bite. Put your foot down. That car is going to track around the corner like crazy. And I'm like, great to say, great to do, but you got to do it while you're in the car.
Yeah.
And you got to step on it. And then I started learning that late in the season, but hopefully I can bring it to this season, right? So yeah, like that's what we're hoping to do. I mean, I would really hope that, you know, we have some crazy things that happen, right? You know, back when the dirt track that's west of where I am, down towards, it would have been Psalms at the time. We had gone down once to race. I'd taken a car down there to show off. We did a couple of things where we raced their 4-cylinder modifieds they had, and they were pretty keen to to have us come down or even look at how to build a class. That was Henry at the time. Now Will March is there, and I've spoke to Will a couple times on and off just by text. He's like, if you guys want to come down, let me know. So I want to bring a group. I don't want to go down with 12 cars, much like our return to Oshweekend last year.
Yeah.
How hard I tried every time I'd call Clinton, hey man, we got to get there. And he'd say to me, you get a full field, you can come back. Well, last year we had a full field. We had to have one car sit out because he was also driving a sprint car.
Yeah.
And he ended up, I think he's won Rookie of the Year, and he won a bunch of races. And it wouldn't have been the other racers felt he would have saw the track more than them. So we brought a full field. I did everything I said I would do. I delivered. We just had one hiccup there. So now this year we wanted to go to Buxton. Not Buxton, Brighton. So I called up Mark there and said, hey, how's your dance card look for Applefest? He's like, it is full, man. It is full. I said, okay. He says, hold on, I have a meeting with the other track people. Let me get back to you. So he called us up and said, June 14th, I've talked to Don. You're getting the night off, and I want you to come here. Absolutely. We will be there. No problem. So by going there, we're going to show off our cars. And I got a bunch of friends that live up that way that I raced asphalt with a couple of years ago. So they're going to come down and check it out.
Nice.
One of my asphalt guys is finished with the racing he's doing. He wants to come to dirt. So we're trying to get him in this year. Buxton down that way, if we can get enough of a showing there, maybe we can help bump start a class there. And whether it comes to the fact where the guys say, look, I want a car, I want to buy it in Canada, and do we have any used cars? Well, yeah, we have a couple, right? And maybe the mentality is, Josh, sell off some of those extra cars you got, we'll build new ones, right? Or whatever, right? Or sell off the couple I've got. So the growth is always there. We're always thinking about, and I, myself and Josh and Rob and Ray, RJ, we're just kicking ideas. I'm like, hey, I wonder if, I bring this guy, like I'm talking with a Can-Am midget guy, a really good one. And he's like, do you want to swap cars for a weekend? And I'm like, I raced asphalt. I love it. I love racing. But those cars are really fast.
Yeah.
Those Can-Am midgets are screaming.
Yeah.
You can come my way. Jump in the car.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to work out the details with him. I was talking to him yesterday. And, maybe he'll fall in love with it. Look at, what's the fella that he raced sprint? He's gotten out of it now. It'll come to me. I'm sorry, it's off the top of my head. But he was a Can-Am midget racer. He left asphalt and came to dirt. And I think he just recently retired. Mechanic owns a garage, I think, up in Kitchener or Cambridge.
Oh, I know what you're talking about, and I can't think of the name.
Yeah.
I can't think of it.
I was tempting to say Billings at first, and I'm like, that's the other way. Who just dropped? I know exactly what you're talking about. I just can't think of who you're thinking.
It's funny. I know a guy that works for him that races outlaw midget. So anyway, it's that kind of thing. Give somebody an opportunity to try it. Maybe they've had enough. We try to look at the buildup of classes. Like, we had three guys actually that I can think of. You had Rob Golding, you had Cole Hardy, you have Leroy Bushcombe that came up from mini stocks. They spent some time there. Maybe they're looking to go a little bit quicker, try something different. Depending, like there's good options. There's street stock, or there's Mod Lite, or there's Sportsman, whatever they want to jump to. I guess really what their wallet maybe might allow. But when it comes to wallet, the last I bought a barn find a couple years ago. It was $5,500, and it was. I mean, I put it on the track. I took it to Josh's. RJ and them went through it quickly, and I think that night Sam Iftati drove it. He drove it a couple times for me last year.
Yeah.
Brand new cars, brand new with every possible item in them, except for a motor. It's like 19 to 22 grand. Like top of line stuff, digital gauges, all the best shocks, the quick change rear end, all that good stuff. Or you we see great cars that guys have ran for 2-3 years, 15, 14,000, right? So it's a good range of getting into it,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. It's a great class to kind of try to transition up to, transition from micro sprints, maybe transition from go karts, and it's I think as deep a field as I've experienced it in a long time at Merrittville. I mean, uh, looking ahead to 2025, Dan, how do you handicap this class? We'll leave off with this. Kind of run us through the class
Okay.
itself. I mean, I'm pretty sure that we can confirm Brent Bigelow is back going full time at Merrittville in the mod light as well. So that's going to be another kind of weapon in the chamber. So, what's your expectations? What do you foresee from the mod lights at Merrittville, especially since that is our kind of weekly home for them this year?
Okay. So one person's perspective. Anybody out there, don't get mad. I mean, I don't want people out there flipping me or something, but no, I'm kidding. Just keeping a good eye on everything. Like I said, take Brent and Josh out because they're the last two champions.
Mm-hmm.
I know inside information because I'm at the race shop. Brent's gonna be hard to beat this year. He was not happy with that flip last year and not being able to finish out the season, and he wants to drive even better. So I'll be looking for him and Josh up front, as we know. So quickly, I did actually make a little chart
Oh,
because I got some notes.
He's got his data. I like it.
Yeah. So I took this and I just, again, if we have everybody come out in one night, less two people that I've added to this list that are actively looking for cars, which I got, again, that could happen. One's a past champion. Sean Slider's looking to come back. He has the drag car, but he'd like to get it, into another car and play around. Dylan's looking to come back. They're looking at future plans eventually for Dylan's son, Bentley, to move up out of the drag car eventually and maybe come into this. So potentially we could have one or two of those guys. Bentley will be a bunch of years. But if they both had cars, should we have 29 cars?
Oh my God.
So 2018, 12 cars, 70% Josh Slider's cars, JSR.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, that's the JSR team goes as far as, Josh and Brent. You have the Andersons, right? Because they're in JSR cars. You have Riley Slider. You have RJ. You have Cheeseburger. I don't think I'm missing. And then Rob and I have our cars, but 29 cars. So let's take two out. So we'll say 27. Now let's factor in one fella I'm working with that's kind of Cayuga way here. He has a job that I think has been really hard for him to get the time off. He must have rotation or something, but he has a car. And I'm hoping he comes out this year. Richard Rounce has a car. As you know, Robbie General just bought that car from Colbert, so we'll knock Colbert off. I think I actually left him on Tyler Colbert. Yeah, I left him on there, but I guess I'd take another one away. I'm expecting 22 cars. That's not including our American friends that come or the odd person from Quebec.
yeah.
So, from 12 cars, now we're almost fielding a full field. And something that we've considered is what happens if we get 26 cars? Are we sending two people home?
Yeah.
I think we might be small enough that we could maybe throw those two on. I mean, that's a Dawn conversation and the safety team at Merrittville. But going through the list, and so I'll tell you what I'm thinking here. A strong runner that finished third last year because I got them by their order, so I just have notes. RJ Pitts, right? Great driver, consistent. Yep. He had a taste of victory last year. 1 win, 10 top fives, and 12 top tens. I think RJ's due. For a couple more. He's in good equipment, right? I think he's actually in Josh's twin sister to my Savage.
Yeah.
Right? So that's Savage frame 1, 2. Next up, I'm looking at people that I've kind of figured they're in the even there. So last year's 4th place winner, Ryan Anderson, right? 2 wins, 7 top fives. That the boy can drive. He's smooth. He's consistent. There's a lot of work going over at the Anderson barn there, right? Tim's not playing around. That team, they've got some hard work. Those, and I'm impressed. Those boys, Ryan being in university, Ashton's in high school, but I mean those kids aren't out all nights of the hour and gasline there running bicycles and doing crazy stuff. They're in the shop.
Yeah.
I leave Wednesday nights. I drive by. They're in the shop. It's 10:30 at night on a weekday, right? So I expect good things out of Ryan. Next up was Tyler Winger. He pulled off 3 wins at Merrittville. Pulled a couple of key wins off at Humberstone when we tried to put on a little incentive for the races. I think he's due. I don't know if he's got other distractions now. I didn't get a chance to speak with him in the off season. I'm not sure if he's I think he got married. He bought a house. So hopefully those don't constrain him showing up, but you never know, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if there's a new kid, you can see how it does change people for a bit.
Yeah.
Let's talk about a very young fella, Cohen, right?
Yeah.
Cohen finished in at 6th with 1 win, right? I've had the pleasure of trying to hold him back, and I think he's an ex go-kart racer, right?
Yeah.
And those guys are so smooth, just like the Anderson boys. They're smooth, and they just find a way around, and they just they don't look back. They just gone. So is there a chance? Yeah, I definitely think so. There's a lot of work going on over at their shop too. Had a quick chat with I think his dad gave me a little bit of info there. Yeah, so I can't see. So right now we're talking 6 guys in the top, right?
Yeah.
Leroy came in at 7th. 3 top 5s, 11 top 10s. Leroy can run, but I think he's another one that if he gets a string of good luck, right? That's what comes down to. It seems like there was just little things that might have little gremlins that got him last year a couple of times. After him is Sean, if Toddy in 8th. I think if anybody's due for a win, it's Sean.
Yeah, it is.
Let's talk. Seeing maturity wise, he put on a great run a couple of years ago at Humberstone. I mean, I think he was leading the race, and I was in the stands because I think Rob was in my car, and I remember going to Josh's wife. I'm like, I think if Toddy's going to win this, but the patience wasn't there, I don't think, and Josh just tracked him down, and then he got maybe he got worried about it and he maybe overdrove it a little bit. Who knows? But I think he's due, and he's in a brand new car. He's got great confidence from coming from the U.S. The crew chief Ray was in his ear.
Yeah.
Patience, run the race. It'll come to you. You got to be in there, but you have to be smart, right? And then coming in 9th was Anthony Kelly, right? I think this is going to be his 3rd year. He's another one. Him and I can race side by side. I mean, all these guys I can race side by side. I'm not worried. Anthony, I think, he had a top 5, so he showed some good progress. I'd like to see him get more string of more top 5s. Dave Cornish, I think he was suffering a ton of gremlins last year. It just seemed like sometimes, it just wasn't strung together. I think there was other things affecting him. So who knows, right? And that is, we're not at the pinnacle of ours. We're not professional athletes. Our outside lives get to us, right? Whether it's like, I don't know, like my dog's sick or I got to go to work, or, you know what I mean? Like these little stupid things.
Yeah.
Coming 11th, Ashton Anderson, great driver. Years past in his belt, he's come up. Like I remember being in the pit side and his mom just chewing her nails down when he was first in that car. Seeing her now being more confident, her and Tim saying, okay, he can run.
Mm-hmm.
He can
Yeah.
definitely be smooth, right? Go-kart kid. I have Jamie Gilbert down at 12th, right? Like Jamie, I'm not sure what his plan is this year. Past champion. He can fly. I think put him in the right equipment, and the old ways will come back, right?
Yeah.
You don't lose that. Chris Watson, bunch of stuff going on over at that shop, I can tell you for sure.
I was waiting to see if you would get to him because I saw a post on social media the other day, and his car looks sharp. We'll see if it ends up towards the sharp end of the field because I think the first year that I was starting to call at Merrittville, I think was his kind of. I think he kind of had a breakout year, and that was maybe 4 or 5 years ago now, maybe longer than that. And he's another one of those guys that just hasn't quite had the consistency, but it's kind of like you say, like the entire field, it's just a matter of stringing together a couple of good runs, and they get the momentum on their side, and they're the ones taking the fight to Josh and to Brent, who we know we're expecting to be at the top.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's I can go through even more here, but I mean that was just really the top like 13. There's fast racers everywhere. There's new motors. New motors are going in cars. I brought a couple. I did a few trips down south, and I brought a bunch back. Mm-hmm. New bodies, new graphics, lots of. I think iRacing has been done. I don't know if they're doing that or the dirt racing on the computer. Like, these guys, they're so focused. Like, it's amazing, right? Because they want to do better. They want to be at the top there. They want that car to perform and have a great night. And, it's just the sometimes, like in any division, you get a little bit of bad luck or something, anything can happen, right?
Yeah.
Open wheel. But it's like, you go out there, if your gear's good, you've done your homework, because, everybody will tell you, you can't just show up at the track with what you had on last week. You got to go over and like I said, 2-hour turnaround on a car, full nut and bolt.
Yeah.
I can do an oil change. I can clean that. I can do everything on it, do a quick setup, throw it on the scales, do my tires, and you're ready to go. It's now your mental ability at the track and your skill, and not being afraid, because, you see that hole. These cars have that power to put it in that hole and go. It's just, do you have what it takes down in the seat to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just quickly looking down the list, I would say to circle back, I think we got about 8 cars easily that can win.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say that, I mean, they know how to win. Obviously, there's the top 2 guys, but I think there's about 6 more after that are due, and they're doing the right things. And for the rest of us, I think we just keep grinding it out, doing everything that we have been doing, learning, putting the laps in, seat time, and doing it. I wish I could explain it something different. It's kind of hard to say, right?
But no, you did good.
I mean,
it's all about those laps and all about those hours behind the wheel. So
these guys we joke around with, right? Like every time I put up a post or something, Chris Watson's the first one to say, "Oh yeah, I can't wait! I got a new bumper, so I can take you out there." I'm like, "If you can catch me." So I hope to be able to race side by side and as hard as I can with Chris, and each week the best man that did it, because that would make me ecstatic.
Yeah.
To be side by side with him, racing side by side with anybody. And just having that plus. And then afterwards, we all get together, we hang out at the track, we shoot the shit, right? Like, sorry.
Yeah. No, you're fine.
No,
yeah. Like we bug each other or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not all happy-go-lucky. We have the odd time that somebody's not very happy with somebody else. There's luckily, knock on wood, there's been no fists flying. It's been just a bunch of shouting and and then it's like, okay, we're done, but it's pretty laid back. But it is one division. I can guarantee you, if you go out there and you hurt your car, everybody's coming over. What do you need? I got parts. Do you have another spindle? No, I did. I'll grab one for you. We'll see if we can make it work.
Yeah.
And I think everybody would be happy if they gave you a part and you beat them with it. Like you know what I mean? It's the true spirit of grassroots racing. That's so much fun.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
Dan Kviring, basically our Mod Lite insider this year. I mean, gets to take us a little bit behind the wheel, behind the scenes of Savage Race Chassis. And I, for one, cannot wait to get back to seeing the Mod Lights on Saturday nights at Merrittville regularly this summer. Dan, thanks so much for taking the time out. Thanks for working with us in the schedule and being a part of the show here on the Southern Ontario Dirt Show podcast.
Thanks very much. I appreciate it. And don't forget, look at this. If I can put it sideways. Look at that sticker. I'm trying to get it in the shot.
There you go.
Get that sticker.
Nice.
You didn't come over to see it at the track, but you better this year.
Oh, buddy, I will be there for sure to take it out, take it all in person, man. That's awesome to have your support, and can't wait to see you back on the Saturday nights.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks, guys, very much.
Thanks, Dan.